Kevin Durant is headed to the Phoenix Suns. This is not a drill. A instant reaction episode of Locked On Suns is live on YouTube right now. Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are back. This is Locked On Phoenix Suns. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brendon Kleen, a credentialed media member covering the Suns for the past 6 seasons, a writer at Suns.com, and the host of the Just Basketball Show, which you can check out post-trade deadline later today. You can also follow us at Locked On PHX Suns on Twitter. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this early Thursday morning or wherever you are getting this show. I wanted to go live as soon as I could, give my instant reactions. We'll have a full episode later on. Tons of content. We're probably doing shows through the weekend. This could be the biggest move in the history of the Phoenix Suns. So I appreciate you making Locked On Suns the first place that you checked out to live in that moment. Today's show is brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook, the new sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. And here's the deal. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Here's the deal. All right, so I don't have a ton of time here. I see some of you starting to fill in. Let me just get right down to it. The Phoenix Suns acquire Kevin Durant in a deal including Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 unprotected future first-round picks, and a 2028 swap. So 4 firsts and a swap. I believe that's about the same thing as Rudy Gobert went for. So before you worry too much about the package, I guess that's kind of the perspective you have to have. This was always going to be the deal. In terms of the picks, right? It had to be almost every single pick available to the Suns. Now, they did save 2 swaps, so 24, 26. The Suns will have their pick clean in that case. So they could have done that. They'd get 2 fewer swaps, but other than that, it was going to be everything. The matter that at hand was going to be, is it Mikal Bridges or is it DeAndre Ayton, right? They go with Mikal Bridges. Very understandable that the Nets would want him. We talked about that on Monday's show with Brandon. Talked about it all last summer. I told you guys I would do the reaction. I would do the breakdown and the celebration stuff first before I did multiple weeks of episodes just crying that Mikal Bridges is not here anymore. I just went back and looked at his Twitter timeline, and it says, "I never want to leave." It's a picture of him hugging his mom on draft night, and yet here he has left. So that is a conversation for a different time. The moment right now is to revel in what just happened because holy crap, Kevin Durant and TJ Warren, also hilarious, are coming to Phoenix. Now, Adrian Wojnarowski over at ESPN had a pretty good breakdown. Woj is on the list. I know that's a timeline podcast thing. Mike and Sam invented the list. Woj is on it. Let's go ahead and save that conversation for a different day too. Just talking out of his you-know-what as this whole week unfolded that KD wasn't getting moved until the very moment when here he is. So if any of you felt like I was crazy for continuing to talk about this, just know that we were not getting accurate information. And if you listen to this podcast in the past, even on Wednesday, my parting thoughts on Kevin Durant were, look, we just aren't going to know the truth until he is moved. And here it is. He's moved, and the truth was he was available. But he had a good report now that he finally admitted that KD was getting moved. And basically, this all came from Mat Ishbia. This was, James Jones pushing hard and then starting to back off. And if you read this article, it looked like John Collins was a possibility, which is pretty ridiculous, pretty hilarious. As like a plan B, they were going to go after John Collins. And the article says sometime after 11 p.m. Eastern, it wouldn't be long that he was told Mat Ishbia encouraged James Jones to reach back out to Marks. And then it wasn't long until Ishbia and Nets owner Joe Tsai had cobbled together the final elements of the blockbuster trade. The details seem to be that Dario Saric was going to be included in a version of this, and that the Suns were going to have to give up second-round picks to account for his salary. Basically, to me, that's kind of funny because the domino effect of this whole move right now is that Kevin Durant I'm sorry. Yeah, Kevin Durant comes in and doubles the Suns' tax bill because it wasn't Ayton. It wasn't Chris Paul. It was these smaller salaries. Remember, Cam doesn't make a lot this season because he's not on that extension yet. Bridges is a fairly underpaid player, all things considered, compared to Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. And then Jay Crowder is $10 or so million. So this was about $35 million. There could have been some constructions where it's Ayton and Crowder, and that's like 40 plus, right? So Saric, to me, being in there was the Suns trying to cut a little bit of their tax bill, and then the Nets wanting some picks in return. Can you imagine if we got a version of this article where where Dario Saric held this thing up, and there's like some article about it, and the sticking point with Kevin Durant eventually ending up in Brooklyn is that the Suns really wanted to include Dario Saric. Hilarious. That all said, the deal is done. Jones got it done. Ishbia is willing to do that tax bill. I see people in the comments, and I appreciate all of you talking about, what are the other deals going to be. Talk about a wake-up call. Yes, Aaron and I will be on later, and we will talk about our respective experiences with this trade. I slept through it, is basically the gist of it on my end. But on the topic of other trades, I want to talk about that later. Shamet, Payne, Saric, Crowder. I'm not going to speculate right now because by the time I record next or the time I hit publish, there already might be something. So yes, all of those are still in play. I would not be surprised. The Suns are thin on wings right now, and they already kind of were, right? We already felt that way. KD is not going to be healthy. They're going to have to basically get through February probably without him, right? And so now you're talking about, Torrey Craig and I don't know, Landry Shamet starting these games. They also have Ish Wainwright, whose contract on the two-way is running out. So yes, there are going to have to be more trades. I see people putting, maybe grabbing Thibault is up there. Kelly Oubre, sure. I don't know. Thanks for nothing, Woj, per the usual. Yes, keep the Woj hate rolling in. I can't say that I disagree. Get OG. I'm sorry, Jay. There's not going to be any of that happening. They don't have enough, right? This was their move. And so that's kind of where I want to wrap up on this side of things. I do want to tell people that today's show, this little extra bonus episode, is brought to you by Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscription, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Basically, they take your unwanted subscriptions, whether it's Netflix or HBO or whatever you thought you weren't paying for anymore, and get that unfriendly reminder that you were. Rocket Money helps get those put into one place. They remind you that something's coming up and they cancel it for you. You don't have to stay on the phone. You don't have to play email tag. So stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. rocketmoney.com/lockedonnba. Okay, so final thoughts. We talked about how the deal happened. We talked about, yes, there's a lot more to come potentially. Here's the deal. The note I want to end on is that this is the biggest, exactly what Migo is saying right here. This is the biggest move in the history of the Phoenix Suns, I think you have to say. This is the best player to ever wear a Suns uniform. I'm not saying he will be the best Sun. We don't know. Long way to go. Probably not, right? I mean, he's 34. How he's only under contract for 3 years. Like, probably not. But this is the best player to ever wear a Phoenix Suns uniform and the biggest move in the history of the Phoenix Suns. We have a KD fan, Mr. Krabs, in the audience. It just can't go overstated how massive of a moment this is for the franchise. This is a new owner saving the Phoenix Suns from decades of a move like this not even being possible, right? Robert Sarver would have never paid the luxury tax deep enough. This is a $70 million tax bill. This is a decade of first-round picks effectively being out the window. The entire 2020s are going to be affected in the draft by this deal. And Mat Ishbia, James Jones went out and did it. And I don't think you can just put this on Ishbia either. You have to remember everything that led up to this last summer when we got that original Chris Haynes tweet that if Kevin Durant is moved, when he demanded a trade out of Brooklyn, he wants to be a Sun, right? What led to that? Well, his relationship with Monty Williams from Team USA and from Oklahoma City, right? His relationship with Chris Paul from years of all-star games and Lord knows what, connections that they have, and his, probably more than anything else, incredible respect for Devin Booker and desire to play with Devin Booker, the compliments that he's poured onto Booker all year long, right? All year long, all of Booker's career, right? And so you can't understate anybody's role in this. They all got it done. This is a destination franchise that matters, that's winning, that won 64 games last year, that won the NBA Finals the previous season, or went to the NBA Finals the previous season. And this is a place that a superstar, legend, Hall of Fame player like Kevin Durant wanted to be. And this is now an ownership group, a leadership structure, a set of people in charge who went out and got it done. None of that would have been reasonable since Steve Nash left the building, right? Basically, it wouldn't be. And so I just want to end on that note. I will have tons and tons more content for you guys. We are going to go live late tonight after the Nets game is probably the Hawks game is probably what I'm planning on as of right now. If anything breaks between now and then, maybe little lives or at least little YouTube shorts I will throw up. If you're on the audio feed, I will try to do my best to put stuff up there, but subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're finding us for the first time, like Mr. Krabs here, who is a KD fan, hit subscribe on this channel. This is going to be the place to be for Suns content on a daily basis. I've been covering this team for as long as anybody, and I promise to put as much out there as I possibly can. This is humongous stuff, guys. He is here. Kevin Durant is on the Phoenix Suns. I don't even know. I don't know what to do with myself. I will tell you my story of being asleep. Aaron will tell you his story of meeting Mina Kimes and then getting the news, and we'll break down what this all means. We'll talk about any more moves that happen. Thank you all for making Locked On Suns your first listen on this breaking news edition of Locked On Suns. We'll be back later.